Bat Force Radio.
Bat Force Radio is rated M for mature, or should that be immature?
Hey guys, Dustin Nguyen.
Hey, this is Scott Snyder.
This is Paul Dini.
And you're listening to Bat Force Radio.
And you're listening to Bat Force Radio.
You're listening to Bat Force Radio.
This is Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman, and you're listening to Bat Force Radio, so stay tuned.
Such a fun intro.
Hi, everyone. That's great.
Hi, everyone. I am your host, Everything Batman. You guys call me Dunk. This is episode 13 of the Everything Batman podcast. I would like to introduce today's guest, artist, singer, performer, cosplayer, and philanthropist, Michelle Foard. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
I saw you bopping a little bit and during the intro, and I was like, yeah it's a solid intro.
It is a bop.
Really excited for it.
Yeah, for sure.
So welcome. How's it going?
It's going well. Thank you.
Except the weather, though. We had snow.
I know.
That wasn't fun.
Just a couple more days, and then it's going to be back up in the 60s. So
yeah. I can't wait. Cannot wait.
Yeah.
So I had quite the lengthy introduction for you there. And with with so much that you're doing, I guess we're gonna just jump right into it. And the first question I have is what came first, and what got you there? When acting, singing, performing, cosplay, there's so much to you. What was the beginning stages, and what got what inspired you to go this route?
Yeah. So I studied performing. I studied opera performance, actually. I have my bachelor's of music, and I minored in dance. So I have always been interested in performing since I was younger, and obviously pursued it in higher education. And after graduating from college, I did a little bit of non-professional opera, non-professional theater, and then graduated on to professional theater and opera, joined the labor union for performers. And once I joined the union, I was living at the time in Dallas, and I thought, well, it's time to try out New York, to give New York City a try. And so I essentially moved to New York to pursue performing. Had a pretty lengthy career. Gosh, I've been here 10 years now, which is wild.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I've done a lot of musical theater and opera throughout not only New York City, but also different regional theaters here and there in Long Island, in Westchester, in New Jersey, kind of all over. And basically the progression of everything around, I would say maybe 2016, I just wasn't getting as many performing opportunities as I wanted. I was auditioning a lot, which is, if you talk to musical theater performers, they will tell you that you really have to be a professional auditioner because it's part of the gig, And so I was in the city daily, going to 2 or 3 auditions a day. And I wanted more. I wanted more creative outlets. I've always loved crafting, and I just wanted to be more creative in my daily life. And honestly, that's how cosplay came about for me. Nice. I felt there was a little bit of a void in my life when it was coming to being creative. And so cosplay was such a great void filler because it involved costuming, costume design, and also costume fabrication, makeup. It involved, again, makeup artistry and makeup design. And then, of course, building props and things like that. And I just dove in head first. I went to Comic-Con for the first time in 2016 and actually did a gender bend Joker back then. And met Kevin Conroy, and it was just
Nice.
It was so invigorating. And I was like, this is awesome. I was like, I need to keep doing this. And so, yeah, that's kind of how it was born. And I just kept creating, bigger and better costumes from there. And Comic-Con was New York Comic-Con was sort of the springboard for me. I would use that as my benchmark every year, for when I needed to have like my biggest and best costume completed.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think oh well, I have to show the picture. So it's like the first time I saw you, I believe, was it 18 or 19?
Uh, which one? Do you remember? That would have been 19.
Okay.
That was Nebula. Yeah.
Yeah, how long did it take you to work on this? Because the details are spectacular. Like, wow, did you like put this together completely on your own,
I
or?
did. I did. Believe it or not, this is crazy. But I put this together in, like, I want to say it was 2 or 3 weeks. At the time, I was doing a show away from the city, and it didn't end until September. And so I had very little time to put this together, but I knew it was what I wanted to build. And yeah, everything is made from scratch. I sewed the entire costume myself, the pants, the shirt, all of the props. And actually, if you check out my Instagram highlights of my stories, there are videos of me making every different costume element of this. Yeah, yeah. And
It's
then of
amazing.
course all the makeup and the bald cap was all like, day of application. So the costume itself took me about 2 or 3 weeks to sew it all together.
Jesus, how long did it take you to get ready for it that day?
Oh, so long. So once I got it down to 5 hours, but in the beginning, it was taking more like 7. It was long.
So you woke up pretty early then, huh?
Oh yeah, real early. And yeah, the bald cap took some getting used to. I had to do a few trial runs for sure.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I remember I was walking by, I was in the main hall, and I was like, the main entrance where it says New York Comic Con, and you walk into like
Mhm.
the thing, and I'm like, I remember looking at you, and I'm like, what the hell? There's no way. And I just kept on walking, but I must have bumped into someone. I was like, oh, my bad. I was like, wow, that's so good. And I was like, wow. And I was like, I just kept on walking, and I saw you again, and I was just like, how? But that's amazing
Oh,
that it took you several weeks to sew everything together, and then
yeah.
5 hours.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, that year I wanted to do something bigger and better. I wanted to, the bald cap was really like the biggest challenge for me, and I just wanted to do something that was a little more stunning, than I had done the year before. So, yeah.
That's great. So now I'm gonna go down the whole cosplay train. Another one that I think was well last year, 2021, right?
Yes.
That was extremely popular when anyone saw you was this
Mhm.
Wanda,
Yeah.
which is phenomenal. So first off, how did you come up with the idea of doing this as a cosplay? Because it's very unique. To watch the show and be like, all right, I'm gonna just paint myself gray and and be Wanda. I haven't seen anyone else do this.
Thank you. Yeah, this show was really special to me. I, of course, like everyone else, watched it as it came out, and I don't know. I felt a kinship to Wanda, and I am just a huge fan of Wanda and Vision's relationship, and honestly, it's my favorite series that Marvel's done, and I just loved it. And I knew that I wanted to do 2 costumes at Comic-Con this particular year, and so I picked one that was a little bit more involved, and then one that was a little bit more simple. And I knew I wanted to do Wanda, but I thought let's put a twist on it. Let's do Wanda from the 50s. And it was interesting because that year we had to incorporate masks, and so I was trying to figure out how to do that as well, and that was an interesting element of this costume. But the grayscale makeup ended up being a little bit more difficult than I thought it was going to be. There was a lot of like shade matching I had to do, and I had to get the wig just right, and it was more challenging than I thought it would be, but I loved it. I love the show. It's really special to me, so it was really fun to do.
Yeah, this one it's like I got another picture here where like you kind of have to look twice because of like it's like for real. Like it looks
Yeah.
like you just like stepped out of like an old television and just like walked around. It's like, oh my God, like
Yeah.
Pleasantville, right? Was that is that the movie Pleasantville?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So
Yep.
total Pleasantville vibes. And I think everyone just stopped and looked like, oh my God, like that's amazing. It was
Yeah.
how long did this take prepare for it?
Well, so this one, I was spending a good majority of my time on Mira this year, and so the dress actually, I altered it. I altered the color, but the dress was purchased. I altered the collar and I altered the sleeves. Now I made the apron, both of the aprons, and of course styled the wig and did the makeup and things like that. So the preparation for this one before day of wasn't too terribly difficult, but day of was it was a lot. It was more than I thought it was going to be, you know, having to cover the arms and the legs um and actually applying like the shading to the face, you know, so
Yeah.
that like what would be blush and eye makeup on top of the gray. um it's tough because when you people don't think about this, but there's so, there's so many different shades of gray. um you know, you can have grays that are more blue toned versus yellow toned. And so I wanted to make sure that the gray that I was putting on my face in the makeup matched the same grays that were in the dress and the wig.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I was with my buddy Steve Teasus, and his daughter was like, I gotta go over there and get a picture with her. And he's like,
Oh,
yeah, go right ahead. And she was Punchline. I was actually looking for that picture. Sorry, Teasus. The cookie kid didn't make it.
oh, I have all those pictures. Yeah, I'll have to send it to you. Yeah, I have a lot of pictures as Wanda with little ones with kiddos, and it's so cool to see them in color, and then you know the
Yeah.
black and white Wanda standing next to him. Yeah.
Yeah, another amazing cosplay of yours. And of course, the one that was like definitely another showstopper that you did.
This one was a big one. It was a huge project, and it ended up being bigger than I thought it was going to be. But I knew that I wanted to do Mira's jellyfish dress for years, and I don't know why I fixated on it, but I just when I saw it in the film, I was like, "Gosh, that would be so amazing to attempt to construct that." And this one took me a solid 2 months to make,
Wow.
and it's completely from scratch. I sewed all of the and actually, you know, I have a how-to video of me making this dress that I've yet to release yet.
Oh wow.
I've been so busy, but yeah, there's a time lapse of me like putting it all together, which is pretty cool. So I'll have to get that released. But yeah, so there are 120 tentacles on this, and they're literally just strips of like a sheer fabric, basically. And I sewed wire into the edges along with like a string LED light. And then essentially like bent the edges of each strip of fabric so that it was, you know, wavy looking. And then I tucked the battery packs into the inside of the dress. So each strand of lights covers a few strands of tentacles. So I believe there are like 46 battery packs underneath this dress. It was crazy. I sewed the battery packs into the inside of the dress. It was so heavy. And you know, I had to be really careful when I moved that the battery packs didn't sort of, you know, bang into each other. But yeah, it was so cool. It was so worth it at night to be able to actually light up the dress. And then yeah, the bodysuit, I sewed all of those rhinestone appliques on by hand, including onto the sleeves. It was all done from scratch. And then the jellyfish are made from Warbler crystal art, which is like it's a clear thermoplastic that comes in like a bead form. And so I heated them up with a heat gun and then molded them into the shape of the jellyfish, and then attached some more of the like the sheer taffeta like kind of fabric that hangs off of it, and had to construct this whole like it was basically like a back piece made out of warbler, and then like a really strong wire. And yeah, the back piece of Warbler just sort of slid inside the bodysuit from the back. And it was actually more comfortable than I thought it would be, not too heavy. That is my real hair. I'm not wearing a wig.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I just styled it myself and then, used like a temporary red dye. So it came out better than I could have imagined.
How do you transport this dress? Did you it seems like there's so much to it, and then it's like, how do you you can't fold it and throw it in a duffel bag or something? How
No.
do you transport this dress?
No, absolutely not. No. So right now it is being stored on a dress form, which that's honestly really the only place for it, so that it doesn't get, ruffled. But yeah, I had to literally lay it flat inside the back of my vehicle and transport it that way,
Wow.
Yeah. So, and then when I got there, of course, I put it on and had to sort of arrange the tentacles and make sure that it looked the way I wanted it to look.
So another next question. So when you put it on, how did you get to New York Comic Con?
I know, right? Yeah. So every year I have to drive. I just I can't take public transportation with these costumes. They're just too much. So yeah, I drive every year and I always reserve myself a parking space. And, even then it's tough because you can't get all that close to the Javits. So I still had to walk a couple blocks in this dress and, got
Wow.
a lot of looks, a lot of stares. But that's okay. I loved it.
That's the best part of New York Comic Con.
Yeah.
That morning, you just see all these people dressed up walking towards the Javits, and the people that don't know, they're like, "What the hell is going on?" And it's
Yeah.
you guys have no idea how awesome
Yeah.
this is going to be right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah. And it was a little chilly that day too. So, you always have to take that into account too, the weather. And yeah. Mhm.
since you have these very detailed cosplayers, have you ever had any issues where um, just you had to fix something on the spot, and how did you go about that?
Oh, all the time. Yeah, my my nebula, I lost one of my hip shields at Comic-Con. I have no idea where it went or when it fell off or. And so in between day 1 and day 2, I had to go home and create a new, hip shield because
Oh,
I had lost one. Oh yeah, all the time. I mean, constantly, there's fixing sleeves and retouching makeup. And I always bring a little kind of like an emergency kit with me that includes super glue and a needle and thread, any makeup that I need to retouch whatever makeup I'm wearing that day. Oh yeah, it's constant. And in fact, I love when I see other cosplayers helping each other,
yeah.
I don't know what year it was, but one year there was a girl who was wearing these gorgeous wings. I mean, they were just immaculate. They were expansive and just beautiful that she had made herself. And she was having some trouble with them, and she was off to the side, and there were like 6 cosplayers on her, helping her with these wings, helping her, with the glue. And it was a really touching moment to see the community kind of come together and help
What
someone in
who
need.
who was she dressed as?
I don't even remember.
Because I
I
remember
d-
there was a Vampirella that had these amazing wings one day, and she just
yeah,
walked in and just they popped open, and I was like, "What the hell is going on?
that's
Everyone's so
cool.
cool."
Yeah, this was years ago. I want to say maybe 2018.
Okay,
But yeah, I feel like that happens to everyone.
yeah,
You have some sort of day of emergency, or even little tweaks here and there that you need to include on the last minute.
yeah. It is nice to see that how the community comes together and help each
Mhm.
other out, because it's everyone goes through it one way or
Yeah.
the other, and it's the day of is hectic, and you're moving ways you're not going to be used to moving with
Oh
with the
yeah.
cosplay on.
Hmm.
I don't know yet. Eventually, I will, hopefully. But yeah, it's a beautiful thing to see the community get
Hmm.
together and help each other out.
Yeah.
Um, so along with this cosplay, what other avenues do you go besides Comic Cons, or what other things do you do with your cosplay?
Yeah. So I try to go to some other conventions here and there, but Comic-Con, New York Comic Con is my main one. I unfortunately, like with my job, I don't get to do a whole lot of traveling. I've done a little bit here and there for conventions, but I do also enjoy doing some charity work. When it comes to cosplay, I did a little bit of some hospital visits before the pandemic. Um, and so, yeah, honestly, right before the pandemic was right when I was trying to expand my cosplay repertoire and sort of get into other things. I wanted to do some pop draw events and stuff like that. And then everything got shut down, and it was tough there for a while.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing when cosplayers get involved and like go to hospitals and
Mm.
or do fundraisers or get involved with the community. Uh, I do have a picture here of seems like something you attended here. Can you speak a little bit
Mhm.
about this event?
Yeah. So that was a hospital visit. It's St. Mary's Children's Hospital in Queens, New York, and it was their annual. It was a Christmas party, but it was also like essentially like a law enforcement appreciation party. And so the NYPD was there, and like I said, it was in early December, and there were a bunch of different cosplayers there, and yeah, so we just got to hang out with some awesome kids and meet a bunch of great people, and it was really a joy to get to do this event. This was in 2019, December 2019. So honestly, kind of right before the pandemic. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like how happy he is.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful thing. Then there's something you worked on recently that you did an amazing turnaround time, and I remember reading the caption, and I was just like, "There's no way that she turned around that outfit so quickly." So we're gonna speak on this a little bit.
This was a big one. Yeah, this was my kind of most recent venture. This was a crazy story. So I was actually working on a totally different cosplay back in January of 2022, so just a couple months ago, and I get a message from a friend of mine, another cosplayer who I know through Comic Con, and there is an organization called Cosplay Runway that puts on shows for New York Fashion Week, essentially that marry costume design with runway fashion. And so they were doing a show for New York Fashion Week, which is in February, and they had someone in attendance from who was involved in the film Avatar, and someone from James Cameron's camp. And so they wanted some sort of representation there from the film. And so he asked me, he said, "Have you ever done Natiri?" And I said, "Well, no, but I can do it. I can put it together." And so I had 10 days to make this happen. And I worked night and day furiously to get this one done. The bodysuit itself was purchased, but then I painted all of the stripes on by hand. Um, I just essentially mounted the bodysuit on a dress form, and I cut out templates for the stripes using just like regular paper. And I used an airbrush gun to airbrush on every single stripe on this entire bodysuit. And then yeah, I made, the jewelry, the necklaces, the bracelets, all from scratch, including this one here. You can see the feathers and stuff like that. I braided the leather straps in the necklace. It's not pictured here, but there's like a essentially like a knife holder on the hip, and like a loincloth, and that was all fabricated from scratch. The wig, I had to kind of adapt it a little bit because it was too long, so I cut the wig and then added the beading to it as well. The ears are made from EVA foam. It's foamo, so like clay foam, and so I sculpted those again, kind of from scratch. And there are videos of all of this being made on my Instagram. And then I got to mess with some prosthetics, which was fun. I hadn't done that before. So I used scar wax from Mayron and built myself sort of a false nose and then
Oh
hooded
yeah.
eyebrows. Yeah. So I blocked out my eyebrows with just like a glue stick and then used the Mayron synthetic wax to build up the eyebrows and the nose.
10 days.
Yeah, crazy. And honestly, the one of the most stressful parts of this was making sure that I got things in time, like the contacts and the wig. I had some of this stuff shipped, and it was funny because it was right around the Chinese New Year. And so I was having trouble with some shipping times and delays, and I was like, "Oh gosh, I'm not going to get things in time." And so that was maybe one of the more stressful parts of it. But yeah, I don't know how I made it happen, but I worked pretty hard on this one. Yeah.
That's amazing. So how was that event?
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah, it was February, I want to say February 12th of 2022. So it was just about a month ago. Yeah, it was great. There were tons of cosplayers there, a couple different organizations, and yeah, I got to walk the runway, New York Fashion Week, do a couple passes. I loved it. I got to be in character and take lots of great pictures and meet some awesome people. So a really cool opportunity.
With that, yeah, that sounds amazing. And I was going to lead to another question. What's like the best thing about cosplaying? Like you are an actress, and here you are playing you cosplay these characters, and you also seem to stay in character.
Yeah.
What's like a awesome experience of just doing that?
You're right. I love that part of it. Because it's an acting opportunity. And especially when you're at an event like Comic-Con that's all day, you want to stay in character. That's important to people, and so it's part of the job, and not just staying in character, but thinking about like how the character would move, how the character would talk, and also how they would pose, because a lot of times, people are taking pictures of you and things like that. Um, I would actually say though that I think my favorite part is making the costumes. I think I enjoy the actual creation process better than the performing. The day of the reveal of the costume. Um, to me, the reveal, again, depending on the event, can be a little bit more exhausting. I like to me, building the costume is therapeutic. So I like just being able to sort of like sit at home and work at my own pace and sort of like, take quiet time to whatever work, sew or work with EVA foam. And it's like I said, it's cathartic for me. So that's probably my favorite part.
Okay.
Of course, Comic-Con can sometimes be, there's a lot of people. So it can sometimes be a little overwhelming, especially when everyone's wanting to take pictures with you and stop you. And, you, even as a cosplayer, you want to enjoy the event for yourself as well. And sometimes there are, talkbacks or speakers or, autographs that you want to pursue, maybe walk the showroom floor. And so when you're in cosplay, sometimes that stuff, has to go by the wayside.
Yeah.
Because you're kind of catering to other people's needs. And so, yeah, it's a delicate balance, I would say.
Do you make time to do that out of cosplay, or do you do it while you're still in cosplay, or when
Yes.
you can?
Yes, I make it a habit, and I honestly, this came about in the Nebula year. I make a habit on the last day to always go in plain clothes, and that's just for me. It's just because I need it.
Yeah.
Because I love the convention so much. I love Artist Alley, and I like to browse and to purchase things. I like to support local artists, and so I find that I can do that more effectively out of cosplay. So I always like to take a day or two to dress down. Yeah.
For NYC, do you go all 4 days
Yeah. Uh-huh.
and you still make it till Sunday? Because I can't.
It
Sunday,
is
my feet are killing me.
it's exhausting. I didn't in the beginning. In the beginning I would do maybe like Thursday, Saturday, or Friday, Sunday. But yeah, eventually I just went for that 4-day pass, and so yeah, that's what I do now.
I get the 4 day pass. Well, I didn't do it last year because since New York Comic Con, this is the first time I went to New York Comic Con living up here in Albany. So
Oh
I was like,
yeah.
all right, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But come Sunday, like standing in those lines and walking around, trying to run into people and just hang out. And then come Sunday, I'm just like, why am I here?
Yeah.
I'm dying.
hmm
But that's good for you. I can't, not yet. I'll get there eventually.
It's a
But
lot. It's a lot for sure. That I mean, like I said, it can be overwhelming. It's my it's sort of my Oscars though, it's the big one for me. I have a special place in my heart for it. Because it's kind of not only is it where I live, it's my hometown, but it's sort of where everything started for me.
yeah.
So it's so funny because I was actually pursuing San Diego Comic-Con tickets the year of COVID.
Oh
So
man.
I was super bummed about that. I was literally planning to attend in June of 2020. And so I'm going to have to make it out there some year,
Yeah, that's a huge goal of mine too. I would really love to go to San Diego Comic Con. I'm like, it's in
hmm
July this year,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I'm looking at the list of Comic Cons that I have that I'm going to, and I'm like, can I squeeze that one in there? But I feel like it's going to be a really big year for everyone.
Yeah.
Now that everything's opening up again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Besides San Diego, is there any other Comic Cons you want to try to make out to?
Well, I mean, so yeah, I went to Katsu this year and there's a few kind of,
That one looks
smaller.
fun.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's super fun. It's hard because I mean, as you mentioned, there's so many.
Yeah,
And there's so many different types as well. And so I've actually I've worked a couple conventions too in my time. And so yeah, it's just sort of like you said, whatever I can make it to based on my schedule and based on like travel time and stuff like that. So yeah.
yeah. I have a laundry list of cons I'm going to this year, and I'm just like, all right, here we go, starting next month.
That's awesome. Yeah, I had tickets to WinterCon, but then it got postponed because of I think that was right about Omicron time when everything got shut down again, like
Yeah.
in January of 2022. So um, yeah, yeah.
When you go to Artist Alley, like who do you like? Do you have like a favorite artist or like anyone you're looking for that you hope makes it to New York Comic Con every year, or have you seen already in New York Comic Con?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, there are regulars who are there every year who I love. Oh gosh, I almost like I would need to like whip out my Instagram. Yeah, yeah. Every local artist, I always make sure to purchase something from a different artist every year, and I always make sure to blast them and support them. And
Yeah.
I love Spitfire Labs. They're based out of Brooklyn and they do like wood carvings. And they do like custom like laser like old like NES controllers.
What?
They carved out
Who
of wood. Yeah, I'll have to
who are they
send you.
again?
Yeah, Spitfire Labs is what they're
Okay.
called. I'll have to send you their profile. And then yeah, yeah, there's some really really cool artists. I love all of the like animation. There's a lot of artists who do like different styles of animation.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, yeah. So I always try to post, whenever I purchase something from an artist.
Yeah, I get stuck. Well, of course, I'm a big DC guy, so like if Sean
Mhm.
Murphy's there, or like if Frank or Jim Lee or any of those guys, I try to gravitate towards them.
Yeah.
But you walk on Artist Alley and you see some really nice art.
Mhm.
Um, Behind me here, I have the one furthest to the left. It's like a almost like a 1930s depiction of like Joker and Harley, and it's like this nice pinstripe suit and Harley like with like kind of like a flapper almost, and it's like,
That's so cool.
yeah, I forgot the artist's name, but he's from Jersey, and I was just like, yeah, I need to get this. Like, this
Yeah.
has to be part of my collection. And you never know; you have to walk around and see what else you find there.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, do you collect anything besides cosplay? Because I know,
I was just talking to someone about collections just the other day. I collected more when I was younger. Not as much anymore. I think I'm more into sort of supporting a different artist or different, medium every year, rather than, sticking with one particular medium or art. Yeah. I don't know that I have the space for
Good.
big
I don't.
collections. Yeah. It's hard because it starts to take up space. I mean, I barely have space for like the costumes that I make,
Yeah.
one of my goals like in life is to have my own art studio,
Nice.
and actually have a place where I can like store all of my supplies, all of my, raw materials, and then all of my finished costumes. That's the end goal.
Hell
So
yeah. That's all. That'd be awesome. I just wish I had more space.
yeah.
Like, what ends up happening to me since I collect, it's like, you have to ask yourself, like, does this still make me happy? Okay, no,
Yes.
it doesn't. I got to get rid of it because it's like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be a hoarder,
That
But,
exactly, yeah, and that can get really easy when you're collecting things,
yeah,
and there's also like you want your space to have a certain sort of like vibe, and it's easy when you're collecting things for it to get a little overwhelming, especially if you're talking about like for you, like a podcast studio or an artist studio. You want it to be somewhere where you enjoy being in the space, and if it's too cluttered, it may not be like the energy that you need,
yeah.
so yeah, it's tough. It's hard when you don't have the space.
100%. It's
Yeah.
like, I walk in sometimes and I was like, all right, I got to get rid of stuff. Sad, because it's like overwhelming.
I do have a few pops, but I mean, they're
Uh-oh.
yeah, I
What's a
know.
few?
I know, right? Well, honestly, most of the ones that I have are the characters who I've cosplayed.
Oh,
So
nice. Okay.
they're a little more special. I would say maybe just like 8 or something. It's not too
Good.
bad. It's not
Keep it
too
that way.
bad.
I have 8
Yeah.
right here.
Yeah.
And like, that's another thing with like pops. They get you so easy. Like, all right, I grew up watching The
Mhm.
Simpsons. Oh, Simpson pops. No, 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 run away. Like, keep
Yeah,
that away
yeah.
from me. Like, then I saw
Yeah.
like wrestling pops, and I'm like, oh, Shawn Michaels. No, get away from me.
Mhm.
And I've been trying to get rid of a bunch of them, but I stuck to 2 things, I guess. Well, obviously just Batman, but Batman animated series. I
Mhm.
have all those pops. I think there's 24 total,
Yeah.
and then the DKR Frank Miller. But
That's
pops,
awesome.
pops are pops are just
You can
scary.
fall down the rabbit hole
Yeah,
real easy.
for 8.50, $10,
Mhm.
$12. It's like, oh, look what I got. The
Mhm.
nostalgia really gets you.
It does, yeah.
But stepping back a little bit, we spoke about you getting involved in cosplay and visiting hospitals and putting these giant smiles on kids' faces. You're also working on something else that I guess I finally took part of this past weekend. Can you speak a little bit on that?
Yeah, sure. So we talked a little bit about like charity work and visiting children's hospitals and things like that. And obviously, the pandemic sort of put a stop to all of that, especially visits to local hospitals because we weren't allowed to enter those venues anymore. And so that was a really big avenue for cosplayers to give back to the community that was sort of stripped away, and it wasn't something that was going to be coming back for a while. And I remember talking to a lot of fellow cosplayers. I talked with Al a little bit, and just some people that I know and trust, and that are big in the community. And I said, does anybody have any volunteer opportunities? And no one had anything. And this was still kind of 2021. We were still coming out of the pandemic, and things were still sort of slowly opening up. And it was getting a little frustrating because I wanted to give back, but I didn't know how, during this sort of global crisis. And so I thought to myself, I think there's a little bit of a void. There's a hole in the cosplay community, at least in New York City, when it comes to charity opportunities. And so I kind of decided in January of 2022 that I was just going to go all out and start my own organization because I was having trouble finding those opportunities. And so I essentially created my own LLC, It's called Capes for a Cause, and we are a nonprofit organization. And yeah, we essentially build custom adaptive cosplay costumes for children with disabilities. And so that includes physical as well as developmental disabilities. So whether a child has a mobility aid, like a walker or a wheelchair, or in terms of developmental disabilities, if a child is autistic or has Down syndrome, we try to find out, from the family. I like to do multiple meetings with the family and with the child and find out what their individual specific needs are. Do they need costumes that don't have zippers, that are just like drawstring or just Velcro, or, do they want a costume built around their wheelchair? And so, yeah, that's our mission, is to basically bring the world of dress up and costuming to children who otherwise may not have been able to participate before now.
That's such a beautiful thing.
Thank you.
So we took part of an event this past weekend, which also was great because, again, the most important thing is like the sense of community. And when the community gets together to work on things like this, there's like a special feeling to it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna just post up some pictures of this past weekend.
Yeah, so this is our very first build that we've done, which is really, really cool. And it was for a little boy named Anthony, and he's 5 years old. He has cerebral palsy, and he is nonverbal, and he is confined to a wheelchair, and he loves firefighters. He just loves them. He actually lights up when you talk about firemen and fire trucks. And him and his family have a great relationship with the local fire department. And that, when I asked him what costume he wanted, that was the only answer. So we are building him, in these pictures here, a custom fire truck to go around his wheelchair, as well as a fireman's uniform for him to wear. So it was fun. We got a bunch of volunteers together this past weekend and got the build started, and it was really successful. I felt like we got a lot accomplished, and it gave people a sense of ownership and a sense of pride over the costume. Yeah.
It was awesome. I went in not knowing what to expect, and then it was just like, I don't know. I felt like I knew everyone in the room. I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was just a bunch of individuals working on a cause. And that's the most beautiful thing, where people come together to help the community, or just to help in general,
Yeah.
And of course, one of the most important things, there was food.
Always. Yeah. And actually, I mean, we had a donor pay for all of the food for us, and so people have been so generous. Everything was donated. The family, Anthony's family, his older sister drew that for us, that little drawing, and they baked us those cupcakes and brownies. So it's very, very sweet. People have been so kind and so generous, and it's heartwarming, to see the community come together, whether it's volunteering their time or donating what they can. It's been an absolutely amazing experience.
Yeah, I remember I left a little early, and I told my friends about it. I was like, I had a couple of stops to make. And I was like, you guys, you have no idea how awesome this feels, because it's and I don't know Anthony. I don't.
Yeah.
And I hope to meet him, hopefully, the next event. But it's to do something anonymously, right? In a way, and to know that's going to bring joy. We shared a picture earlier, and that kid was just so happy. And there you are, you're part of bringing happiness to someone that probably doesn't have it all the time. And it was I don't know. I just felt like a sense of accomplishment, just because, again, strangers getting together for a stranger and just trying to bring happiness to this world. So I think what you're doing with your organization is such a beautiful thing.
Thank you.
And as I always say, whatever you need, just let me know, and then I'll drive 2.5 hours.
It was such a joy to have you there. Everybody who was working with you, just absolutely loves you. And yeah, it's it was so neat to see, and not just to see people come together as a community, but also to see the talents kind of pop out. Everybody brought their own strengths and their
Yeah.
own experience to the table, and people were, talking about different methods of doing things. And, we had someone there who was an expert seamstress, and so she took the reins on that, and it was just so cool to see it all come together.
Yeah, when I saw like you guys, because I remember that one part, I think you guys were talking about like the shiny part of the,
Yeah.
and it was just like you guys really like the three of you just sat there and discussed it, and I was like, I'm watching them because I'm like I'm learning something, yet you're
Yes.
all learning something too. It was like it wasn't just oh we here for this one reason. It was also like a learning or teaching experience, which is it just adds more to the experience.
Yeah, because I mean, cosplay in and of itself is a lot of trial and error and learning. I can't tell you how many times I've tried something new in a costume build and it didn't work, and I've had to sort of scrap it and start over. That's common,
Yeah.
in the world of crafting and construction as well. And so if we can come together and sort of discuss, how to do it best first, it just makes it all the better, to get to discuss as a group and collaborate in that way. Yeah.
Yeah, that was so great to see. I'm looking forward to future projects and other events that you
Yeah.
guys are going to
Yeah.
host.
Our next event is actually May 21st. We just set the date today. So that's going to be the date that we reveal the fire truck to Anthony and his family.
Nice.
And so I'm hoping that you can be there. I'm hoping everyone can be there. It's going to be at the fire station. We're going to have a bunch of like city officials there. We're going to have News 12 Westchester, and the Yonkers Voice is going to be there. And there's going to be some food trucks and catering and things like that. It's going to be awesome. So I want to get as many people as we can from the community. A lot of people from Anthony's school are going to be there as well, including other children. And he attends a school for children with disabilities. So it's going to be a great opportunity to get to hang out with some cool kids. And
That's awesome.
yeah, we're excited. We'll get to, pull the curtain up and get to see this big smile on his face. So yeah.
Oh, that's going to be quite the event.
Yeah, I'm
Can't wait.
excited. It's going to be awesome. Yeah.
Well, yeah, with that, of course, again, whatever I could do to help, I'm sure there's so many people, so many members of the community that are willing to help as well. I'm looking forward to see how this grows and, how many other kids we could bring smiles to. Since I did get a couple of questions from our buddy Al, for those of you who don't know, Vasquez is our buddy Al, and he was very excited for me to get Michelle on the show today. And some of the questions I already asked, but I guess the most important question, our discussion about the Batman.
Yes.
It's like the most important topic, before the slap heard across the world.
Yeah.
I feel like everywhere you go, everyone's like, "Hey, what are your thoughts about the Batman?" And so I know you and I discussed it a bit, and we're kind of on the same page. How'd you feel about it?
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I did another podcast last week that was solely a group discussion about the film. So you're right. I feel like everyone's kind of talking about it right now. Yeah, I really honestly enjoyed it. It felt like Gotham was being depicted in the way it was meant to be. Finally, it felt like Gotham was its own character in this film, which it was so gritty. And so it was almost in sort of the same vein as the Joker, which I appreciated. It's sort of that dark, like psychological character study. And I really loved it. I didn't even it did not feel like 3 hours to me, which is awesome. It's always a good thing, with a long film. Yeah. And so you and I discussed a little bit about Matt Reeves and basing it off of The Long Halloween and Year One. And I think that what they did was brilliant. I loved Paul Dano. I just thought he was fantastic. I loved what he did with Riddler. I really liked the aspect of sort of basing him off of the Zodiac and incorporating as well some of the like modern elements that someone, I guess, of his character might struggle with. You know, you have the aspect of the live streaming and the social media following, and these followers just sort of blindly committing crimes and essentially becoming vengeance themselves, you know. And it's so interesting when you think about like you know, like what we go through as a modern society with you know, when you think about terrorism and school shootings and stuff like that. I feel like it felt like a lot of the same vein, and so
Yeah.
it felt relevant. Even at the end during the mayor-elect speech, when she's talking about the corruption and the systematic structures in place that need to be torn down, and it just felt so relevant to what we're dealing with today. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought, in terms of Robert Pattinson, it was interesting because you have to sort of like take yourself out in the beginning of what you're expecting to see, you know, and I had to
Yeah.
sort of like suspend my own bias and say, okay, like this is Robert Pattinson's portrayal, you know, this is year two. And so I had to sort of take everything else that I have seen, you know, regarding different versions of Batman, and sort of allow myself to be open-minded about his portrayal. Loved Colin Farrell. I thought he was fantastic, you know.
So good.
Unrecognizable, just and he had his humor was so great, and I loved the sort of positioning of power between him and Falcone, like at the, you know, because this is sort of a little bit of his origin story, if you will, but you know, it's before he sort of rose to power. And yeah, what else? Loved Zoe Kravitz. You know, I thought she was fantastic. Yeah. What are your thoughts? I'm trying to make sure I cover all the bases.
I'm like, well, you mentioned it, you know, Gotham is a character,
Yeah.
and the way Matt Reeves and you know, production and everyone brought out the character was amazing, because
Mhm.
it was just perfect, because you know, Gotham's dark, Gotham's gritty. The innocent people of Gotham are scared.
Yeah.
Anyone who's bad is running around rampant, not scared.
Mhm.
Um, Gotham PD,
Yeah.
how corrupt they are. There's some good. There's a lot of corruption there. You know, Gotham PD was another character, and I
Yep.
don't know. There has been discussion of them having a spinoff for Gotham PD, but I think it's going to be Arkham Asylum. We'll
Mhm.
see. That'd be great too. Um, Overall, like, I'm used to Gotham being timeless, where you don't know what year it is. You can't really
Yeah.
tell. You have all the vehicles. There's styles all over the place. You don't know if you're in the 50s and the 80s. Modern, you really can't tell. The use of technology was really all over the place.
Mhm.
So it had similar to like Batman animated series feels, because
Yeah.
you just don't know what the timeline is. You have no idea
Yeah.
what year it is. And I love Batman animated series, so when I felt that, I was like, all right, cool. Um,
You had the integration of the modern technology with the contacts, you know,
yeah,
and the cell phone usage, and again, like the live streaming and stuff like that. It's a little more modern, you know. I loved I think there was a central theme of vengeance in general, and I know that that's always a theme, like in you know, when it comes to Batman. But I feel like it was really nice to be able to actually see and feel Bruce's grief
yeah,
depicted, and you could, I know they really focused on sort of that emo aspect of Bruce, like especially when he was out of Batman, but you could just, you could feel that the motivations at the beginning were stemming from grief, and that you know, there's the scene when he's actually on the subway platform at the beginning and he calls himself Vengeance, and he's just a little bit more angry, a little bit more violent, and as the film progresses, and then at the end, when one of Riddler's Goonies calls himself Vengeance, you sort of see there's this light bulb moment, where he realizes that that's not the answer, and you see that's when you see him, rescuing the civilians from the water, and nobody's wanting to trust him at first, and then this little boy finally like reaches out for him and grabs onto his arm, and it's so interesting to see the progression of who he wants to become as this central figure, and someone who wants to do good in the community. It was really beautiful. And I mean, even like Selena Kyle has her own moment of vengeance against Falcone, and and obviously of course, Riddler, wanting revenge on all of the people that he's targeted. So yeah, there were a lot of really good themes, a lot of great cinematography, editing. The score was fantastic. I can't say enough good stuff.
I can't wait to watch it again.
Yeah.
Similar to what you said, when it came to like just Batman overall, a lot of people had a problem with his Bruce Wayne. And what I told people is like, it is year 2. One, he's still trying to find himself.
Yeah.
And he hasn't discovered that he has to be Bruce Wayne by day and Batman by night. Like, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
He hasn't realized that. And I think hopefully I'm right. By the next movie, you're going to see, all right, he has to be the playboy, the face of Gotham, and he has to play that role because, that whole emo aspect, it really threw people off. And I'm like, you really have to understand Batman because he hasn't found himself yet. And I think the turning point was after the amazing car scene, when he realized that Alfred was in danger. And the one person that cares, loves him, who's been there despite all the nonsense he's put him through, he almost lost him. And I remember in the beginning of the movie, he mentioned he wasn't scared of, Alfred was like, "You're not scared of death, sir." And he was just like, "No, I'm not." And when it came to Alfred about to almost die, it was like, no, it's more than just me. I can't be selfish. I can't be this guy anymore. And that's like the turning point in the movie. And I'm not going to lie. I thought they were going to kill Alfred. I almost lost my mind.
Yeah.
I love Alfred's my favorite character, period. And I remember I looked at my friend next to me. I was like, if Alfred dies, I'm leaving. And he's like, what?
He probably didn't have enough screen time, I would say, in this film. Yeah, he was fantastic as well. And played a central role in this one. Obviously the revelation of a little bit of the backstory of the Waynes, and that was great. I loved that moment. Yeah, I agree. I mean, Alfred's role was really special in this one.
Yeah, there's just so many parts to this movie, and the little things. When he woke up as Bruce Wayne, Alfred opened the curtains, and he's like, "Oh, the light!" And like puts his glasses on, and it's like, there's little things like that, and it's like, wow, all right,
right, because it's about more than him. People, describing him, Robert Pattinson, playing an emo. I mean, and they really played up like the swooped hair, and they also for one of the first times really focused on the eye makeup underneath the cowl, which is really interesting because in a lot of the films they would essentially write it out. They would shoot to hit, Batman in the cowl, and when he takes it off, the makeup would be gone. But I loved that they left it on, and they left it sort of messy, and they focused more on him being reclusive, and being introverted, and essentially just needing to be a loner while he's sort of figuring it out and while he's dealing with his own grief. And I think, I think it's just a great character study. I love how they did it. And I loved sort of watching, Riddler touches on this a little bit, but watching the development of these two young boys who came from, essentially the same orphanage, from the orphanage, and where they developed, the different paths that they took. I think that's so fascinating. I love like the deep character study like that.
Yeah, I got to once it gets on HBO Max, I'm probably gonna watch it like 15 times.
Yeah.
Um, any characters, any villains you're looking forward to for the next flick, or maybe the TV series? Anyone in particular?
Well, I mean, I don't, a lot of people have really strong opinions about Joker's appearance in this film, and I tend to agree with them all, to be honest, because I loved Joaquin Phoenix Joker. I really did, and I'm I'm not sure about Barry Keoghan touching this one, but then again, I've heard rumors that the Joker's not going to be in the next one. I don't. Was it
Yeah,
you that told me that?
Matt
Yeah,
Reeves.
yeah,
Matt Reeves mentioned that he's not gonna. He does. Well, he said he's not gonna do it, but you never really know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's hard to say really. But I'm sort of with the masses. I think that there are other villains that can be touched on a bit more. I'm looking forward to the Penguin spinoff. I think it's going to be
Ooh,
awesome.
yeah, oh yeah.
Oh man, yeah.
I can't wait for that. I think we'll probably get some villains for that just
Hmm.
because it is Penguin. The guys are in the Bat Force when we talk about it. I think we mentioned it'd be great to get like a Scarface,
Yeah.
ventriloquist. If we get a Clayman, if you could do a Clayman in this universe somehow, because that would be nuts. Or a Man Bat. No, we haven't seen a
Yeah.
live action Man Bat. There's so many villains. Like we could shy away from the Rogues Gallery. I
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
think we could use a decent Poison Ivy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
that'd be
Yeah.
phenomenal.
It would.
But
It
it's weird.
would.
It's weird in a universe where we don't see like magic. I guess because
Hmm.
we didn't see any of that. It was like pretty realistic.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'd be nice to have.
Agreed.
We'll
Agreed.
see. We'll see. Who knows what the future holds? Because HBO Max is going to go nuts, and they're going to take advantage of this. And WB better agree to everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So we're just hitting above an hour. Before we close out, any message you want to go out to the listeners out there?
Um, not really. Nothing I can really think of. Just like, thank you for listening. Thank you for your time. Thank you for having me. Yeah, any message I would say is just, keep doing what you love doing, and if there isn't something that exists or an outlet, that you're looking for, create it on your own, find different ways to create your own art, create your own content, and don't be afraid, of what other people think, because I guarantee that you're gonna inspire someone. So, yeah,
That's perfect. You said I don't know, and that was like perfect.
yeah,
Well, thank you for coming on the show. For anyone who's watching, please give Michelle a follow. Go to her IG that we have here, Michelle Foard, and definitely follow on Capes for a Cause and see what the next event's going to be. If you could donate your time, donate some money, donate a like and a share. It all helps. To close out, I just want to thank anyone who listened. On my end, please like, comment, share, and I see you guys next time. Have a good one.